We will discuss that. But first, with Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals between the Celtics and Raptors just over 24 hours away from its scheduled tip, the possibility of players boycotting the game continues to remain on the table for both teams after police in Wisconsin shot Jacob Blake, a black man, in the back multiple times at point-blank range. Both teams spoke this morning, and we'll start with Toronto coach Nick Nurse, who had this to say about where the playoffs and his team are at.
They had a meeting last night. It is a player-led thing that I'm here to listen, help facilitate. If there is any leadership thoughts I can provide, I try to provide them, but mostly just listening. I don't think I could probably put a percentage on it or anything, Mike. I think that, again, it's ongoing discussions. I think it is on the table. There's some other ideas on the table as well.
Now, players from both teams had a players-only meeting on Tuesday to discuss the possibility of a boycott, and they're planning on meeting again Wednesday night to further discuss the matter. Pascal Siakam said this.
We came here for a reason, and using our platform and wanting to send a message and hopefully bring awareness and
Now, on the Boston side, we heard Jason Tatum share his feelings about continuing to play in the bubble, saying, quote, "Being a black man in America is more important than what I'm doing out here on a basketball court. Using my platform to use my voice to help create conversations and engage change is more important than anything I can do out there." Tatum continued. He said, "You think about a man getting shot in his back 7 times with his kids in the car. That is way more important than anything I can do out here on the floor." Now, both teams are staying in the same hotel in addition to preparing for the potential start of their playoff series on Thursday night. So, Malika, what are players wanting to see as a result from a boycott? As they are talking about this, what do they want to happen?
Well, Rachel, that's one of the things that players, I'm told, are still trying to figure out, right? But really, the idea of a boycott has gotten a lot of attention because, one, it was one of the specific things that Fred VanVleet and subsequently other players mentioned. But really, there are a lot of options on the table. And to me, the idea of boycotting, it's really a microcosm of how these players are feeling. Because what they are feeling is this. They have knelt. They have worn Black Lives Matter T-shirts. When they were home, they were out in the streets protesting with people in their communities. They have posted on social media. There are players that are organizing initiatives to vote. And all of that, they weren't expecting things to change overnight, but they are not seeing change in the way that they were hoping to. And seeing this again, even though there are these shootings by police more than are caught on camera, seeing it happen again and go viral again is reiterating to them that perhaps what they are doing right now isn't enough. And so the question they are trying to answer is, what is bigger that we can do? And boycotting is one of those things that's bigger. The question, though, is for them right now that they are trying to figure out is, what would we use that time to do instead? Is that going to be the most productive way to affect change? Because that is what this is about, figuring out how they can move that needle forward. And if they are not going to play basketball games, what would they be doing to continue to push that?
And Malika, to follow your point, you're right. And that's the thing that I was wondering and questioning is, what is the plan after boycotting? Listen, we all are going through something right now, dealing with what we're going through in America as far as in social justice. And I commend and I applaud the Toronto Raptors and the Boston Celtics with trying to make a stand and saying that they're willing to boycott games. Now, the thing is, right, these things have been happening to the African-American community for over 400 years plus, and it's going to continue to happen. The things that we could control is the system. How do we control the system? By voting, by reaching out. So to me, I think the threat of boycotting gets the owners' attention. And now the owners, and I know in Pags and Wick Grossbeck from the Boston Celtics, are now, they have their antennas up, and I'm pretty sure, knowing those guys and how great of a guy those people are, they're going to reach out to their franchise guys like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and have this conversation and say, well, how can we help? And how can you help is by reaching out to the resources that you have, the people that are governors, that are senators, people that are a part of Congress and the White House to help change. So I applaud them for wanting to make a stance and boycotting, but just the threat alone raise eyebrows and make awareness even to an upper level.
Well, Perk is right. I mean, let's be frank. There are owners in the NBA who haven't done nearly enough on this issue or any other issues of social justice, and they have enormous resources, and a boycott is one way players can leverage the owners into using those resources for good. But on a broader human level, you know, how can you listen to Doc Rivers and George Hill and Fred VanVleet and Jason Tatum talk about what happened in Wisconsin and not understand why some of them would want to be home with their families, why some of them would want to be home in their communities? And I think it's necessary and it's important that players keep the spotlight on this stuff, that we keep the spotlight on this stuff, that we make the discussion about the underlying issues and not what happens on the court or what doesn't happen on the court. And whatever ways that players feel like they need to react on a personal human level, that has to be okay. And they can do whatever they want. And as far as I'm concerned, like, good on them for keeping this in the discussion, good on them for using the leverage that they have. And it's heartbreaking to listen to how helpless they feel. It's heartbreaking to listen to how powerless they feel and how scared they feel. And on a human level, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, and it's funny, Malika, I've had people say to me, oh, come on, they're staying at a hotel, they're earning millions of dollars, they're playing basketball. I don't think people really understand what it feels like. All the things you would normally do when facing any kind of trauma, be with your family, be with the people you love who make you feel better. Go out for a long run. Guess what? You can't do that. The hotel where these guys are staying, the longest run is about a mile around the parking lot. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we all use as coping mechanisms to deal with something this significant. Talk to people who are like-minded. Figure out what you can do. Go out and physically do something. We just saw a tweet from Jaylen Brown saying, I want to go protest. He cannot go do that right now from inside the bubble. So they're in such an extremely unique environment. What have you heard about just how constricted they feel right now? And some players saying, look, whether we boycott or not, I just want to go home, because they do have that option. They don't have to sneak out. They can walk out the door anytime they want, correct?
Right. I mean, that's exactly right. They can choose to do that, and they may still choose to do that, right? I asked Jason Tatum, what feels different now to you? Does it feel more constrained being here now than it did a couple of months ago with George Floyd? And that isn't to compare tragedy to tragedy. That is just to talk about what they can do, what they feel they can do here versus what they were able to do. And he said exactly what you said. There, I was with my community. I was with my family. I had this ability to go out and feel like I was doing something. And in here, I feel a little bit trapped. And you mentioned all of the privileges that they have in this bubble. And they're not denying that. There is more access to testing here than anywhere in the world. And by the way, coronavirus is disproportionately affecting Black and brown communities. That is not lost on these players. That being said, all of the privileges they have in here, there is some survivor's guilt that goes with that, Rach. There is a feeling of, I have so much. What can I do to help? Instead of just saying, well, I'm good in my ivory tower, they're looking back and saying, well, on the one hand, it's kind of become a tagline. I'm human too. I'm not just a basketball player, but it's also true, because in this case, they are feeling that I am a basketball player. I do have the choice to turn the other way if I want to, potentially, as long as I am within these confines and not out on the street seen as just another Black man. But while I am in here, I am feeling that guilt, and I need to be able to figure out how to deal with that, how to help people, how to do something about it. And so that is adding another layer to what they are feeling without being able to protest, without being able to go home and see their loved ones go on a run and cope outside of the bubble.
I think that's such important context, because I hear people just not getting it. And what these guys are feeling and going through is so real. Malika, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. As we go to break here, Zach referenced it. I do want to play the sound from Doc Rivers after the game last night. He's addressing the shooting of Jacob Blake, and just so emotional. Listen to his voice. This is a man who had people burn down his house because he was married to a white woman. He has been through so much over the years, and here he is watching it again. Take a listen.
It's amazing to me why we keep loving this country, and this country does not love us back. And it's really so sad. Like, I should just be a coach. And it's so often reminded of my color. We're the ones that need to be scared. We're the ones having to talk to every black child. What white father has to give his son a talk about being careful if you get pulled over? It's just ridiculous. And it just keeps going. There's no charges. Breonna Taylor, no nothing. All we're asking is you live up to the Constitution. That's all we're